humans are in trauma right now. We're living in traumatic stress. How could we not be? Everything around us, the sky, the plants, the animals, the humans are all withering on the vine. It's drying up, it's burning out, it's killing each other. All over the world. That's a universal human stress. And that stress is traumatic. You can't really live. Nobody in the world would say, I'm living a happy, high-quality life that is simple, easy, and there's no pressure and there's no stress. I think wherever you go, to the indigenous communities that are still hiding out, they're under stress, they're traumatized. The last holdouts that refuse to go in, that are living in the far reaches of the jungle, in the rainforest, wherever they may be, they're stressed. Even those people have to be stressed. Their land is being encroached, the animals are being killed, the water is changing, oil companies are coming. So to live with this stress, we have to numb ourselves out. Or you'd be in trauma all the time. And so we have to have a suitable way of blocking out so that you can function. So that maybe you can function to do good, to ease the stress. So then, the blocking out mechanism is useful at that point. Because if you're continually in the heartbreak of the trauma, of the bloodshed that's happening in this very moment around the world, it's just, you wouldn't be able to make a difference. So to make a difference, you have to be able to bear it and not take it personally. And then it breaks your heart. And heartbreak is the way in. It's the way into yourself. Trauma is a cracking of the egoic shell. That's traumatizing. An outside force has pierced your egg, pierced your reality bubble. Whether it's physical, emotional, mental, psychic, doesn't matter. There's a piercing of my sense of myself. And so that piercing can either be a cracking open that leads deeper, or it can be a wounding. And in the wounding, it's because you're taking it personally, which is quite natural. Everybody's going to take it personally when you're wounded. And that internal festering then shows up as disease. And then the disease of the wound, of the psychic wound, shows up as alcoholism in native populations. It shows up as, cancer and whatever else it may be, that the body is now having to deal with a wound that's festering. Okay? So then different ways of dealing with that wound, and that's to unwind the psychic attachment to the personal identity that believes they're wounded. Because then that piercing of the egoic shell is the opening that leads to the possibility of realization of what's untouched. Because as deep as the wound may be, it doesn't touch your soul. It doesn't touch consciousness. It doesn't touch the essence of yourself. And we discover that in ourselves in different ways. And the ways we discover that is through trauma. That's the good use of trauma, is it shows you what's untouched. It shows you what can't be hurt and doesn't need healing. It's the identity with the one who needs healing is the egoic identity. And so you either do ego strengthening, if that's what's appropriate, or you do ego transcendence. In the case of indigenous people, you have to, or African American people, or any oppressed people, you have to start with ego strengthening. You don't start with, okay, give it all up now. No, don't give it all up now. Live your life, be alive, be part of your community, be truth and harmony and be one with nature. Because the indigenous communities that had this sense of oneness with nature, and almost all of them do, I've never met one that doesn't. From the Aborigine people to the Maori people to any indigenous people they know where they're living is alive, and they know that they are part of this life, that it's all oneness. That's not awakening. That's a kind of samadhi, and it's important, and that's part of the ego healing that can happen as you reclaim your identity as a whole human. Very important. You feel nature, you feel the oneness, you feel spirit. Very useful. But if what you want is what's beyond that, you have to be willing to go through that. And it's always shocking. It's shocking to have the egoic shell pierced. And that shock either leads to implosion or explosion or insight. Implosion and explosion are the two reactions of ego to the wounding, of the animal to the wounding, really. But the insight is what is transcendent of that.